Welcome back. Today we are speaking on another law. The law and laws within God's work, God's nature. Today's law is going to be the power of responsibility, all about power equaling to accountability. The law of responsibility, accountability, states that you, yes you, are in charge of and responsible for your actions, your thoughts, and your outcomes. This is not to punish anyone. This is for power. When we are responsible within responsibility accountability, this is powerful. It is not blame, it is agency. Nature does not point fingers, so neither should you or I. Within nature, we see that everything adapts itself to reality in order to survive. There are no animals that argue with nature and the conditions of nature. Animals adjust or they vanish, they disappear. Spiritually, the law of accountability, responsibility is examination of self, where one must align their actions with actual purpose instead of outsourcing consequences. Raise your hand in the chat if you or you know someone who likes to outsource consequences in their life. Contrary to popular belief, responsibility is what actually turns awareness into freedom. Freedom bells. Let them ring. When the outcomes are owned, patterns are changed. When ownership is avoided, cycles repeat. If we have power without responsibility, this is when tyranny happens. Infantilization. What is this? This is when we have care without responsibility. We become infants. Too much care. This law of responsibility accountability is true from the smallest scale to the largest scale. It's true for you, me, he, we, she, they, thee, the individual, and the all. In a SAN-aligned system, and I'm not talking no partisan, I'm talking a symbiotic abundance network. These are aligned systems with God's law, where our abundance is actually unlocked through contribution. I am sorry to say that there are no external saviors. There's only internal governance and alignment, coherence. We would have 0-point energy integration requiring ethical AI regulation. We all know, like, and trust that any time we have control removed, systems do collapse because they need to have internal mastery. So let's go through a quick example of utilizing the law of responsibility paired with a symbiotic abundance network, SON. No partisans here. When using any baseline ZPE, 0-point energy, to build food systems or medical tools or ecological restoration, expanded access is actually earned automatically through the network feedback. Therefore, anyone who hoards energy, anyone who destabilizes systems, anyone who acts impulsively finds their access naturally limited. This would not be as punishment, this is as systemic self-correction. Incentives reinforce behaviors that are aligned with the SON whole, not the partisan fractures. There would be no external saviors stepping in to fix misuse. There would also be no enforcers that are hovering over participants. Governance, therefore, is internal, and what is on the internal reflects in the external. As above, so below. As within, so without. Responsibility is a visible thing. It's not something we vote on. Within a SON, symbiotic abundance network, mastery is required before scale. When we do have any control removed, only those with ethical self-regulation remain capable of sustaining abundance, proving that this law, the law of responsibility, freedom without responsibility collapses, but responsibility without coercion scales. Within our two partisans, Democrats and Republicans, the failure lies with asymmetrical responsibility. On one side of the coin, we have Democrats that actually violate the law by assigning responsibility exclusively to systems. This reduces individuals to victims of structure, stripping individuals of agency while claiming to protect them. As an example, they have education policies that remove standards and/or accountability entirely. Then attribute all failure to systemic oppression. As a result, students are denied agency, students are denied skill development, and they're denied self-efficacy. All the while, outcomes are worsening under the banner of protection. On the flip side of the coin, we have Republicans. They violate the law of responsibility by assigning responsibility exclusively to the individuals. They, in turn, deny systemic impact and offload collective consequences onto future generations. For example, a climate policy denial that treats environmental damage as irrelevant to governance, framing it solely as personal choice. As a result, we have the collective consequences, which would be resource depletion, disasters, debt, are pushed onto future generations who had no choice at all. These are different narratives with the same misalignment. Folks of many strokes, reality does not accept responsibility gaps. Reality fills responsibility gaps with suffering. So, some eternal truths for us to internalize and get in coherence with: whenever and wherever responsibility is avoided, the suffering concentrates, perpetuates, grows. And therefore, responsibility is not actually a burden. Responsibility is a source of power itself. Responsibility is not something you vote on.